His loathsome god, the Nightbringer, hungered for the deaths of all those on Cronus.
Hot on the heels of the success of Company of Heroes, developer Relic delivers yet another excellent real-time strategy game in Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War Dark Crusade. This is the second expansion pack to Dawn of War, which came out a couple of years ago, and this one, like the best expansion packs, breathes a lot of new life into an already great game and makes it feel just like new all over again. It introduces 2 new playable factions and a whole new strategic layer to the campaign that just creates an awful lot of value both in the single-player mode and also when you're playing online against other opponents. A lot of the great ideas from Company of Heroes originated in Dawn of War, which was this game that took a lot of the conventions of real-time strategy and really accentuated the parts of the RTS formula that are everyone's favorite parts, namely the combat. This is a game that's not about you sitting back in your base gathering resources. It's really a game about you quickly marshaling a powerful force and then getting out there and getting into a lot of really brutal firefights. The formula still absolutely holds up, and it's very important that there's such excellent gameplay underneath it all, because that's the foundation that this expansion pack is building on. It's worth noting right up front that even though this is technically an expansion pack, you don't need Dawn of War or the first expansion, Winter Assault, in order to play and enjoy almost all of what Dark Crusade has to offer. Basically, the only thing you can't do if you play this game standalone is go online with the original 5 races from the previous games. But you get the full 7 races playable in all the single-player modes, and you get the 2 new races, the Tau Empire and the Necrons, online. Dark Crusade does a lot more with its single-player portion than the previous versions of Dawn of War did. Basically, the game now takes place on this risk-based strategic layer that's all about how these 7 different factions have all been drawn to this planet Cronus. One of the great things about this expansion is that it does a good job of really giving you a story from the perspective of each of the 7 different sides. It takes 10 hours or so to play through the campaign just once, so you're really talking about a lot of lasting value just in this single-player campaign alone. Although the campaign still boils down to conventional RTS battles, the new strategic layer gives you more context for the whole thing by making you fight over these provinces that then give you more resources that you could bring into the following battles. Your commander earns new war gear that makes him more powerful. You're also going to earn new units for your honor guard, so you could start out successive fights with powerful military units already there at the beginning, and all this stuff helps accentuate the best parts of the gameplay that are all about just you getting into the action quickly. This type of turn-based strategic layer has been done before by other real-time strategy games, but Dark Crusade handles it very nicely. It's a nice and simple system. Basically, you normally get 1 move per turn, and you can either move to a friendly province or attack an opposing province, and each province has its own unique benefit that it's going to earn you if you could actually take that province. And the longer you wait to take on certain opponents, the more powerful they're going to be once you finally get around to them. So even though the strategic campaign starts out the same way each time, and the starting locations for each of the factions are fixed, the end game is probably going to be dramatically different depending on the choices you make along the way. The majority of the battles in the new strategic campaign play out like your standard skirmishes. The artificial intelligence in this game is surprisingly wicked even on the normal setting, and that's especially true of the key missions in the campaign, in which you have to take down the enemy strongholds. Whenever you take one of these, that knocks that player out of the game, and it's 1 less opponent to worry about. The strategic campaign is a great new addition to Dawn of War, but it's really the 2 new factions that steal the show, that are the most obvious new feature. They are the Empire of Tau and the Necrons. The Empire of Tau are sort of this sleek, high-tech race that's actually a conglomerate of different races. So not only do they have these powerful, long-range soldiers, but they've also got these close combat specialists that are kind of these bestial creatures that jump around the battlefield and weird, like, insect-like creatures. The Tau really force you to use mixed tactics because their standard troopers are really powerful at a long range, but they're really weak up close. Meanwhile, the Necrons are basically the far-flung future equivalent of zombies. They are zombie robots. They are these things that pop out of the ground. They've got these giant laser rifles, and they come back to life sometimes when they're killed. and basically they swarm you, kind of slowly marching forward in large numbers. These two races, despite how colorful and varied the other races are in the game, they fit right in with the other 5. And the other 5, not to be outdone, have a few new units and special abilities to call their own, and these units tend to be pretty powerful, so they're fun to use. With that said, one of the great things about Dark Crusade is that all 7 of these sides seem like they're cool, seem like they're powerful, seem like they can hold their own against each of the different sides. It certainly helps this game's case that the overall presentation is still so great, even though it's based on a 2-year-old game. A lot of the units still look fantastic in action. There are a lot of bright, spectacular explosions and some really gory deaths, actually, which is probably what you'd expect if you're a fan of Warhammer 40,000. Overall, Dawn of War Dark Crusade takes an already great real-time strategy game and adds just a ton of really great new content on top of it. So that makes it very, very easy to recommend. In fact, it's just a total no-brainer if you're a fan of the previous Dawn of War games. And even if you haven't gotten into them before, since this is a standalone product, there's just a lot to like here, and it's a great place to start, even if you're new to the series.